going beyond this concept of just single conversations and stuff into something that's great. Okay? And I would actually put either the S word or the C word. I won't say the C word. I'll say society. Okay? Culture. All right. It sounds to me like culture, but then, you know, I'm on that, so just so you guys know. Because, you know, this behavior is reinforced by what they sign up for, and it's reinforced in terms of that culture. So therefore, you know, if they steal it, that's discouraged and all this other stuff. It's kind of norms, you know. So one of the things you could do, and I don't know, a couple of papers come to mind, but this is about 20 years old. Okay, so this is not forefront stuff. Is going back to some of that centralization versus decentralization in terms of how those groups work and the effectiveness, because there was a lot of work done, especially Minnesota, University of Minnesota, looking at teams in terms of how if you were tight, you know, what the output would be, and if it was not, when we're decentralizing or looser and stuff, it actually could be a good body of research to pull from, because it actually may support what you found. You know what I mean? Now, I'm just very simplistic the concept of the centralization versus non-centralization.
Right.
You know, and because it's, you know, and it's very old literature, so it's not, you know what I mean? You have to go back a bit.
Just even a little bit of.
But I have a feeling though you'll find similar. You know what I mean? Just strictly looking at it from very tight variables. Okay, as you take it out further into teams and stuff, you can probably lose it. But if you look at it very kind of, you know, narrow, you actually may have more support.
No, that's good, because I mean, the context I like to look at this is not just software, but it's like Professor Tito saying is, you know, this broader idea of how do we develop things in society, so that, you know, certainly organizations and so look at different ways of organizing an organization.
More support. The only thing I would add is I really don't like platform mediation as the term, the word, the.
I hear it's consensus.
Okay. I mean, I get the concept, all right, and to me, but I don't. We gotta change that because it means because you say it to tech heads and they instantly are, you know, right?
The platform as a, from a software background. Platform means completely different things for both me and them.
Right, you say it right, and I'm thinking, you know, and I'm at culture, so I mean, you see how, you know, different this is. And he's saying norms and values, you know, and I'm thinking, to your point, organizational memory, I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking all these different concepts. So we need a difference.
Something that survives all of this breadth.
Exactly, right.
Very careful how you choose the word.
Another place to look would be in the org literature. Because I have a feeling, and I can't, the term isn't coming to me right off the top of my head, I have to dig a little bit. But I think there's a term that would be a little more generic, but easier to understand in terms of this, you know what I mean?
Instead of platforms.
To what you're kind of getting at, because you're in a richer place than
just,
yeah, you know, a programming language or a, exactly.
Can I just add one thing to that? I want to say about maybe 2 years ago, Bill Starbuck did a piece looking at the structure of Al-Qaeda. And what he was particularly struck by, Bill Starbuck. What he was particularly struck by was the fact that this was not a centralized unit. You know, they were all small cells, highly decentralized. It was almost as though there was no communication. There is nothing in our literature that speaks to an organizational structure that has no properties, that is completely decentralized, that it's a different beast altogether. I'm adding my 2 cents worth. I don't like the platform mediation word. So we're now consensual. This is Japanese decision making. Okay, we've changed.
All right.
But I was also struck by something you said, sort of the lack of theorizing here, you know. And in my mind, I was pulling teeth, trying to come back and then tie it together with how you struck out, you know, your conceptual piece. You drew from the teams literature. Let me just take teams for a second. Back when we did the CP, I think it was called the CP, we strongly encouraged you not to use the word effectiveness.
Right.
Okay, because how are you going to measure effectiveness? And so we asked you to come up with something else. And now we've got success. And it doesn't surprise me that you have absolutely no, your findings are completely orthogonal, let's just say, to what one would expect to see in the teen effectiveness literature, because you're not really looking at effectiveness. One could easily argue that your measures of success are what into the box, and what teen effectiveness is almost to some extent outside of that box. And that if you want a market test of the success of this beast, this entity, whatever it is, you need to look outside that box for the kinds of variables you want. Otherwise, you're stuck measuring what you can get access to, which is not consistent with that prior literature. So I was thinking in my mind's eye, how do we tie it all together again? How do we come back, sociologically, in terms of you used physics, you used organizational principles, you used so much, and trying to make heads or tails out of this. And, my heart went out to you, because you really tried. And sort of effort leads to performance to reward. You got the effort piece of it, When we get to those first level outcomes, what I'm thinking about is that your success measures are really at that first level of outcomes. A subsequent test would be a market test of are they really successful or are they effective? And you said it's...
subsequent test would be a market?
Well, the external, he says, what is the external impact? But that's outside the scope of the dissertation. And I don't mean to suggest any more work for this